Hello everyone, today we will be analyzing a scene from Stanley Kubrick's 1980 psychological horror film, The Shining. The film follows the story of the Torrances, a family that moves into the Overlook, an isolated hotel for the winter. Over the course of their stay, it is revealed that the son, Danny, has horrifying visions, while the father, Jack, grows increasingly mad, later attempting to kill his family with an axe. We remain on edge the entirety of the film, yet still we aren't quite sure what we're afraid of. Is it the hotel, Danny's visions, an axe-wielding Jack? While these things aren't inherently frightening, Kubrick deprives us of any logical explanation for them, and it's this precise ambiguity that makes this movie so scary. We watch as the Torrances' happy family starts to fall apart at the hands of a crazed father, though we aren't sure if what's happening to them is real or if it's all in their heads, and Kubrick's filmmaking manipulates us in a way that we won't ever know if what's occurring is real or not. This is precisely what Richard Allen's essay on psychoanalytic film theory attempts to argue, a certain kinship between cinema and the dream world. Let's take a look at the scene in the film where Jack finds himself at the bar in the empty gold ballroom. In this scene, Jack seems to have fully descended into madness. We know that there's a history of past caretakers going insane from the isolation, and it would appear that the same thing is now happening to Jack. He is abnormally upbeat, almost wired, he is talking funny, and is having what seems like hallucinations. The scene begins with a subjective shot of Jack sitting alone at the empty bar, hands over his face, presumably in his head about something. When he opens his eyes, he's looking right at us. We are players in the scene. He addresses us.
Hi, Lloyd.
But as we are not Lloyd, we question whether he's truly talking to us or rather someone that he's imagining. The camera switches to Jack's point of view, revealing Lloyd, the bartender, who stands in front of the previously empty wall now stocked with liquor. There's no reasonable explanation for this, of course, other than the fact that we know he's losing his mind. That is until the camera pulls back into an objective shot, which the two of them are now seen in. Again, we try and make sense of it. Jack's mad, Lloyd is just a figment of his imagination, but we can't ignore the fact that we are seeing Lloyd, even though it wouldn't make sense for us to from an objective point of view. The exchange carries on, and eventually Jack reveals that he has money and that he would like to order a drink. He does so casually though, that you almost wouldn't know that he hasn't had a drink in months. We know that he hasn't though, not since the incident with Danny, and we also know that it would be impossible for him to have one now as the bar had been wiped clean. He reaches for his wallet to pay, but his wallet is empty. If he really were imagining all of this, why wouldn't he have any money in his wallet? We know that he thought he did because he told Lloyd. And then he tells Lloyd this.
I never laid a hand on him, goddammit.
But we know that he has, because Wendy revealed this early on in the film. It's almost as if he's trying to convince us, Lloyd, himself, that he hasn't. It's even more unsettling when he says this.
I'd do anything for him. Any fucking thing for him.
Again, we know that something bad is going to happen because we've already been informed that the last caretaker went mad and killed his family. So what exactly would he be willing to do? Kill?
You'll never let me forget what happened.
And now he's admitting that something did happen, that he has hurt Danny.
I did hurt him once, okay?
But justifying it.
Accident. Completely unintentional. Could have happened to anybody. It was 3 goddamn years ago.
Which is false. It had only been 5 months since the incident.
A momentary loss of muscular coordination. You extra foot-pounds of energy per second.
Then we hear Wendy yelling for Jack. She comes running into the bar with the bat, clearly distressed and in a panic. Jack is revealed once again, but alone at the empty bar. No Lloyd, no liquor.
There's someone else in the hotel with us. There's a crazy woman in one of the rooms. She tried to strangle Danny.
And he responds with this.
You out of your fucking mind?
Ironically, after having spent nearly 5 minutes talking to an illusion? It's hard to say what's really going on here. Has he imagined all this? Who is Lloyd? Is he holding a mirror up to Jack? Are we supposed to be Lloyd? What's certain, though, is that Jack is venting in a way that a drunk or a dreaming person might, irrationally and uncensored. And we could try to make sense of it, but it's just not possible. Many people have contributed to the psychoanalytical film theory since it was first created in the 1960s. They looked closely at Sigmund Freud's theory of psychoanalysis, which deals with the process of making the unconscious conscious. As mentioned earlier, Richard Allen's 1999 essay on the theory suggests that cinema and irrationality are closely related, and that it is psychoanalysis which seeks to explain it. He says, "The concreteness of the film, together with its temporality, makes cinema an ideal medium for escaping the tyranny of reason and staging the associative process of condensation and displacement that for Freud characterized unconscious thought. In other words, film allows us to perceive what is imaginary, or what we see on screen, as being real. That is because our eyes are able to blend in seamlessly with that of the cameras, so all that we see, even irrational things, feel real." In The Shining, Kubrick sets up details early on in the film which linger in our subconscious until later when they are reestablished and at times even contradicted. He also plays around with perspective, often switching between the camera's point of view and a character's in a single shot. In doing so, Kubrick blurs the lines between what's real and what's fake, making it difficult for us to try and make sense of and rationalize what's really going on. On the outside, Jack is a man desperately trying to keep himself and his family together. We know that he had a problem with drinking and that he has hurt Danny in the past. He took the job maintaining the hotel in an attempt to salvage his family and work on his writing. But what we see beneath is a man who must live with the guilt of having abused his son, along with his wife's impending threat to leave him if he ever drank again. But these thoughts, along with his inability to finish his writing, makes him feel impotent and at times emasculated. Feelings that could push Jack to drink again, or to do and say irrational things like perhaps kill, in order to reassert himself. So who's to say that what's happening isn't real? I think that Luis Buñuel said it best when he spoke about his film in Chien Andalou. In trying to make sense of the images, the viewer must negotiate with the unconscious. You can't use rationale to make sense of it. You must rely on emotional and unconscious impact. I'd argue that the same can be said about The Shining. While many people have interpreted this film differently since it was first released in 1980, one thing that I think everyone can agree on is that what Kubrick succeeds at is making us, like Jack, go a little insane.